Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. We'll go ahead and jump in here and get you some good information for the week. 5Q tape breakdown last week was skipping 4 of the 5 crib notes at a time can get a client arguing with you. So I know a lot of us wonder, gosh, these scripts are so long, and why is he doing this, and why is he doing that? The reason all of those crib notes are in there is to eliminate, after doing 60,000 meetings, believe me, we know where the objections may come up. So those crib notes, those little points that we cover, are preventing any future objections. So guys, is it easier to overcome the objection before it comes up or after it comes up? It's always going to be before it comes up. Make sense? So that's a good one to listen to on why we do what we do. One thing I want to mention here is I've had lots of people talk about this, and we finally just put it into black and white, or you'll see in blue and white. How does the 21-point checklist work with money management fees? It kind of changes it up a bit because we leapfrog from fees right to the risk reward. So I want to go through. We've made a little change here under fees. And you see in blue here it says, when handling any prospects with money management in their portfolio, the order of the 21-point checklist is slightly modified. With any money management involved, you go from beneficiaries directly to interest rate volatility. You go from beneficiaries, skipping over the fees, going directly, fees and turnover. You're going to go from beneficiaries to interest rate volatility, then investment weighting, then management tenure, then you handle the fees, then you handle the turnover, and then you'll immediately go into risk reward. So any questions on that? Obviously, it's right here, so you can go back and look at it. But so you're going to skip, the order is slightly out of order. And the reason being is because if you jump from management fees back to risk reward, then back to tenure, then back to investment rates volatility, it just gets a little bit more confusing. So you'll just modify it a bit from beneficiaries to leapfrog over fees in turnover, and then you're going to go to interest rate volatility, investment weighting, management tenure, then handle fees, then handle turnover, then do the risk reward. So any questions on that? It looks like nobody, and then obviously you'll finish up with diversification. Cool, everybody gets it, good. Last time this cleared, again, guys, I know it's Chicken Little saying the sky's falling, but this is yet another danger sign, and I don't show you the same one over and over and over. That would be BS, but this is a different danger sign. This is IPOs. So when was the last time we had so many IPOs that were loss-making? So what's this say here? When was the last time we had that? 1999. So we're right at the same point. Also in 2008, we started to go up, but now we've had climb. Now we're again. Does that mean the market's going to crash tomorrow? No, it means we're in danger of the market crashing tomorrow. Doesn't mean it's going to. But remember, we're in this shed with all sorts of 100-year-old newspaper with kerosene and a blowtorch, and we just don't know when it's going to go up. But we're certainly are we near to the beginning or the end of all this Yahoo that we're going through? So overpriced IPOs usually occur toward the end of a long bull run when stocks generally become very overpriced. Why does this happen? Generally because investors have lost their sense of reality. They're willing to buy stocks on hyped up stories instead of facts. In other words, investment bankers, he explained, pounce on the opportunity to stuff the stock market, or as the expression goes, feed the pigs with overpriced companies as long as the public has an appetite for risk. Oh, and then backed by popular demand, I've had so much feedback about people liking the 2-hour 21-point checklist video from front to back with no breaks, so you can see how it all flows together, that I did the same thing for the FIA presentation. So we sent out an email last week, but if you missed that email, we now have the FIA presentation from front to back. Also, at the end, I go right into having because what do we call the FIA during the client presentation? What is what do we call it during the client presentation? Warren Buffett option, yeah. So, but we're not selling the Warren Buffett option. Really, it's a technique, and we can do it with or without fixed index annuities. You could buy your own bonds. You could buy your own options, but obviously that wouldn't be very efficient. So at the very end of that hour presentation, I walk the client through why they want to buy. They tell me why they want to buy a fixed index annuity from a life insurance company at the very end of that. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, that's all that put together. We are going to then, Missy, what are we going to do? Can you help me out with what we're going to do with the old presentation when we're taking down, what we're going to do with it and all that kind of stuff?
Yep, and so today, by this afternoon, we are going to be removing the old version of the client presentation. And so for any of you that are going out and doing a client presentation of that FIA, you will be using those new slides. So just make sure that you're familiar with the minor changes that were made. So right now there's 2 pages, 2 versions of it, the old version and the new version, but we gave you that last week to kind of be familiar with it. So by the end of today, I will go ahead and pull off the second version of the old version of the FIA client presentation. So you will just be left with the one that you see in the new training video.
Thanks, Missy. So yeah, there's been 2 slides added to the presentation, and then we've updated it to the end of 2019, the amount charged, etc. So want to go out and take a look at that. Let me know if you like it or don't like these longer presentations, or you want all those chopped up tutorials. But most guys are telling, in fact, all guys I've talked to said they're so much happier with the front to back than with the chopped up tutorials. So good. Enough on that. Okay, see how many of you are, I was a big fan of this movie. First of all, what movie is this? See how many people can get this. Nobody? Ah, Glad's got it. Good job, Glad. Risky Business. Exactly right, Risky Business. And this is one of my favorite lines out of this. Porsche, how does he finish it? How does he finish this sentence? Porsche. It's actually no, not the ultimate. Don't recall. Porsche. There is no substitute. There is no substitute. And the reason I bring that up is because when I'm about to go through some ideas for marketing for you, but there is no substitute for marketing. There is no substitute for the eye-to-eye or the workshop marketing, because you're in control with a workshop. When you're sending out a mailer, you're sending out a letter, whether it's eye-to-eye, workshop, or whatever, when you're sending that out or you're doing digital marketing and you're saying the date for this presentation is next Wednesday at 10 a.m. or whatever you're doing, you're in control to a large degree of getting in front of people, when it's going to be, how soon it's going to be, converting them to appointments, converting them to appointments to the 29-point checklist. So you're in control of that. So what I'm about to go through with you is not a substitute for true marketing, predictable marketing. Okay? So the other things you can do, though, besides those things, because with predictable marketing, with workshops, eye-to-eye, or whatever, do we have big chunks of time in between those things? Do we have big chunks of time between those things? Yes. So what are we going to do between those things? Well, it's the side hustle. So it's a side hustle, which means that it's not to, it's this side hustle means what? Main hustle or in addition to regular predictable marketing. In addition to. But by doing that, you can start to make your own luck, because the things I'm about to go through with you are not going to be predictable. It may take you 6 months for one of these things to work, but when it works, you may get a case for $800,000. You may get a case for $1.5 million when it works. It's just that it's not predictable. But the more things that you have going on at one time, not predictable, what starts to happen? If I have one unpredictable source of income, what's going to happen? Well, occasionally I'm going to get luck. If I have 2 sources of unpredictable income, what starts to happen? 3, 4, 5. If I have 5 sources of unpredictable income, what starts to happen? It becomes more what? Yeah, more predictable, more luck, right, Fred? But more predictable. That's right. Because I don't know if let's say I have 5 sources of unpredictable income, and I know that I'm going to get let's say 2 cases from that a year. So if I do 1, that means I'm going to get 2 cases in a year from that one. But if I'm doing 5, that means I'm not going to get how many cases per year? 10. And it starts to become even out. It won't be perfectly even, but it starts to even out. So the things I'm about to show you will not, they should not be your main source of income. But when you got those big chunks of real estate in between your main predictable marketing, like workshops or the eye-to-eye, this is the kind of stuff you should be doing. Also, I think we talked about this either last week or the week before. What should we have in our calendar daily? What should be in our calendar daily? First of all, first thing we do when we get in the morning, what do we do? First thing we get in the morning, what should we be doing? The 15-minute drill, right? The 15-minute drill. The 15-minute drill is an indicator of how serious you take your business. If you can't spend 15 minutes working on your communication skills, that says that you do or do not take your business seriously. But then after that 15-minute drill, what else should we have in our calendar every single day? What else should we have in our calendar blocked out so you do nothing but this every single day? Anybody remember? You should have an hour blocked out for, well, practice is a good one, but that's awesome. But you should also have an hour blocked off to do marketing of one shape, form, or another. And so these are the things I'm going to show you are things you can do. But I would have, whether it's 11 to noon or 4 to 5 before you go home, but you should have 1 hour blocked off to do some sort of marketing. And again, does anybody remember the science of luck? What have they found is there's one characteristic that makes you more lucky, and it's not a positive attitude. What is the one thing that makes you more lucky? Nick's got it. Let's see if anybody else can get it. Kevin's got it. Yep. The more contacts you have, the more people you know. It's not work harder, because if you work, guys, there's a lot of poor people that work freaking hard, don't they? It's contacts. The more people you know, the luckier you're going to get. The more people you know, the more likely someone's going to invite you to go to the Super Bowl with an extra ticket. The more people you know that if you lose your job, who's going to get a job quicker? The guy who knows a ton of people or the guy that knows nobody? Who's going to be invited to more parties? So the more people you know, the luckier you get. And these are all ways to get to know more people. So I take this off of HubSpot and another article I wrote from a different magazine, or read from a different magazine. So effective sales prospecting techniques you should be using. So make more warm calls. We're going to go all through these in a little bit more detail, but make more warm calls, become a thought leader, be a trusted resource, reference a script, don't sell, follow up, use video, block of time for prospecting. Yeah, put an hour in your calendar every single day to prospect. Spend time on social media. And again, what type of social media? We'll talk about that. Host a webinar, ask for referrals, network at events, answer questions on question and answer forums, get involved in Twitter chat. So make warm calls. This is one thing that you could do during a 1 hour block of marketing time. First of all, should we all have warm lists? If you don't have warm lists, what are you doing? One of the things that we tell our clients is what? Albert Einstein said, what did Albert Einstein say was the most important invention ever made? I don't know if he said invention, but it was something. Compound interest. How many of you tell your clients that compound interest is important? Yeah, Ron's got it and Tom's got it. We all do, right? Well, if you don't have a warm list, are you compounding your marketing? Because a warm list are people that you've gotten in front of from your marketing. If you don't have that list in place so you can constantly, it took you a lot of money and time and effort to get that person, whether it was to a workshop or for a lead or whatever, you spent money to get that person. So once you have that person, it's very, very cheap to keep dripping on that person with the epidemic marketing. But it's also, if you've dripped on a person for 3, 4, 5 months with epidemic marketing, guess what you can do at that point? Pick up the call or pick up the phone and call them. Why? Because you've earned it. And when you say, hey, I'm the guy that sends out those newsletters, I'm the guy that sends out the helpful checklist, I'm the guy that sends out walk down memory lane, how are they going to treat you? How are they going to treat you? Are they going to know who you are? Much more warmly. Does that? And then when I call, do I want to see just checking in, or do I want to have an idea for them? Have an idea for them. You know what I would be ready for? When the market does crumble, guess what I'm going to immediately jump in and do? Call my entire warm list that's been getting the epidemic marketing. Because how open are they going to be? Because remember, what's the number one reason people leave their current advisor? In every single survey that's been out there, what's the number one reason people leave their advisor? Lack of communication. Everybody's getting it. Lack of communication, right? So if you've been communicating for 5-6 months about non-financial things, it shows you care more about them than just their money, and then the market crashes. They're going to blame their guy when the market crashes, not themselves. They're going to blame their guy. And if you're the guy that calls up or the gal that calls up during that time period, and you're there to offer true ideas and comfort, guess what they're going to do? That's a great time to be harvesting new clients. So if you have not been sending out the epidemic, make sure you're doing that, because when you send out the epidemic marketing, it makes it very easy to make warm calls. So that's one thing you could be doing. Become a thought leader. Ways to establish yourself as a thought leader include start a blog, write guest articles for industry publications, speak at trade shows and conferences. This helps you familiarize your leads with your name before the initial contact, which is discussed in the first technique. Be a trusted resource. Be successful as a salesperson. You have to do more than sell. You have to be your client's go-to person. Support them after you've closed a sale. By changing your position from salesperson, product, and services to provider of solutions, you can increase your chance of getting referrals from happy customers. What are some things? Let's brainstorm as a group here. What are some things you could become an expert on? How about whether you should pay off your home or not? Do a lot of retired people still have a mortgage? Yes. And are they confused about whether it makes sense to pay it off or keep it? Yes. What if you wrote a short paper about that, got it to your clients, and said, hey, if you want more of these to give your friends and neighbors, I can get them to you. How about whether you should buy? Have you ever had this question, guys? Whether you should buy or lease a car? Should I buy it or should I lease it? You ever heard of that question? There's plenty of calculators out there on the internet that you could use to look like a genius. You don't have to tell them that you Googled car or lease or buy a car, but you can say, listen, if anybody's looking at a lease or buy a car, whether it's your son, your daughter, your mom, your friend, give me a call. I'll run the analysis for them, tell them whether they should buy or lease. So Roth conversion, yeah, that'd be an okay one, except the problem with Roth conversion is what, guys? What does it sound like you want to get at when you do that? You want to get at their money. So why am I saying pay off your house or not? Why am I saying whether you buy or lease a car? Why am I saying those things? They deal with money, but they're not. That's right. There's no money in it for me. I'm just being a trusted resource. So we don't want to see it. And our natural inclination as a salesperson is do what? Hey, I could do a portfolio analysis. It's fine. It's kind of it's kind of sad. Have any of you ever been to an auction, a charitable auction, and there's that one advisor who doesn't know his what from you know what, who wants to auction off a free financial plan? Generally, I've probably seen that maybe 10 times in my life. And guess how much that goes for, that free financial plan? Yeah, it's the most embarrassing thing out there. Nobody bids. It's zero. So we don't want to be out there saying, hey, I'm a great resource for investments. We want to find things we can be a trusted resource for that maybe are in the fringe of money, but not about their investment. So whether to pay off their home or not, whether they should buy or lease a car, and are those things that news resources would be interested in you talking to you about? Dang right they would. Those are things that people are interested in. So anybody else have any other? So Roth conversion, that's a good idea. The only reason I don't like it is because it smells of, in their minds, it smells of I want your investments. Any other ideas you can come up with besides that's kind of on the fringe? Social Security, Medicare. Absolutely, Kevin. Absolutely. Don't just do workshops. Let your clients know that you're a trusted resource. If they have a friend, neighbor, or relative that's getting to that point, you can do an analysis for them. Awesome, right, Keith? Medicare. Taxes is another one, right? Tom and Mark. Taxes. How to pay off college loans. Perfect, Bob. Love it. Vacation homes. Excellent, Daniel. I love that too. Whether to buy a vacation home or not. Yeah. Long-term care, Glad. Perfect. Yes. People want to know about long-term care, but nobody really wants to talk about it. Timeshare is a big one, Ron and Tom. Absolutely. If they have one, how to get out of it. Whether they should buy it. Great job. Prepay for funerals. That'd be a good one too. Yeah, that's fantastic ideas. Thank you so much. Yep. Awesome. So good. Reverse mortgages. Sure. Absolutely, Keith. So there's all sorts of things that you could become an expert on, and your friends, neighbors, relatives will refer to you because it's not about, they're referring to people about items or subjects that people are really interested in, but don't smack of, I want to sell you investment planning. And you don't need to be an expert in all these things. Find one of them. Dive in. Go deep. Become the expert in your community on this, and you will be amazed at how much it will become a magnet for new clients for you. Okay? So revisit this tape and go back and write down some of those ideas that we had. Again, let me just run through some of them that people had. So Security, Medicare, taxes, how to pay off college loans, whether you should vacation homes, Medicare, long-term care, timeshares, prepaid funeral, reverse mortgages. Those are all great subjects that you could dive in and become your community's expert on that. And when you're that much of an expert, how much, and people come to you for that, how much of a leap is it for them to start talking to you about investments at that point? Them asking you versus you asking them. Yeah, not much. Perfect. Reference a script. Well, one of the suggestions is reference a script. Hopefully you guys feel that you have scripts available to you. You all have scripts available to you when it comes to all sorts of things in our industry. We have all sorts of them on our website, right? Don't sell. So these two right here are all about 5Q. We've already done these two things for you. Follow up, and it gives you the opportunity to further establish yourself as a trusted resource for a prospect rather than following up with just checking in. So when you have a meeting, what should go out immediately after a meeting with a client or a prospect? A summary of a thank you card, sure, and also a summary of what was covered, a note. How impressed would you be if you went for your physical and your doctor actually sent a little note saying, here's what we covered, here's what we found, and you're all good? Never happens, but how impressed would you be? How about with a realtor, if they did that to you, gave you a note, okay, here's what we covered, here's the hospital we saw, here's the advantage, disadvantage. How many professionals in our lives actually follow up on anything in today's world? Nobody. And you want to stand out. So if you want to stand out, be that one professional in their life that actually follows up, okay? Use video, and we'll talk about a little bit more on this later. A block of time for prospecting. More than 40% of the people say it's the most challenging part of the sales process. Then why aren't we blocking an hour a day to do that? Does a text message work for follow-up? I think it would work but again, how much information can you put in a text message? And also, it's great for a thank you, but there's not a lot of information go into a text message. And again, follow-up is not just a thank you. And if I'm sending a thank you, do I want to do a text message or do I want to do a handwritten card? Because how much work does it take to do a handwritten card versus a text message? A text message smacks of what? Hard or easy? Yeah, handwritten. So if I'm doing a thank you, I want to do a handwritten card. If I'm doing a follow-up, I want to do an email or a note or a letter. So they can say, we covered this, this, and this. 3 things. We covered these 3 things. Make sense? So block of prospecting. Spend time on social media. Again, not surfing it. Go in with a plan. Go in with a strategy. Implement a social selling strategy that meets prospects where they are. It's likely that a fair amount of people who've researched your product are active on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Answer their questions, share comments that are relevant to their research. I spend zero time on social media, so I don't know anything about this. But if social media is your gig, because do you want to be doing all of these things that I'm showing you here, guys? Should you be doing every single one of these things that I'm showing you here? No. Pick the things that you're passionate about. Pick the things you're good at. So I would never use social media as my methodology because I have zero interest in it. I'm not on any of those things, or I guess I'm on, but I haven't entered anything for 2 decades. So this is not. But if it's your gig, you love it, then don't just surf and show pictures of your vacation. Go in with a social selling strategy. Okay. Host a webinar. Could you do webinars for your clients on a topic, just like the ones we talked about? Buy or lease cars, reverse mortgage. Could you do those webinars for your clients? And guess what you could have your clients do? Invite somebody that they would also be of interest to that. Could you also record that and put it on your website as a resource? Could you then email it out down the road as resources? Because here's the thing, if you do a webinar on one of those topics we talked about, somebody who is wondering whether they should buy or lease a car, if I'm not looking at buying or leasing a car, I wouldn't be on that. But could that change 6 months from now or a year from now? Yeah. And so then, you know what? You could send it out 6 months from now or a year from now again as information, and people would be just as interested a year from now because things change. Ask for referrals. At every single 21-point checklist, at the end, what should you be asking for? A referral. What's the first thing we cover or are supposed to be covering at our annual reviews with our clients? What's the first thing we're supposed to be covering at our annual reviews with our clients? Changes? I'd go along with that, but that's not what I'm looking for. All of the non-financial things. Did you get your survivor's guide done? If they've got it done, is there any changes we need to make? Did you get your quality of life directive done? If they've got it done, is there any changes that need to be made? Why do we want to cover the non-financial things at the beginning of every single annual review? First of all, it's the right thing to do. Second of all, it's Mark. It's not that makes sure that they understand we're not just about performance. We're not just about managing their money. We're about a lot more than that. That's right, Tom. We're reinforcing our trusted relationship with them. And then at the end of those non-financial things, guess how easy it is to go right into our little 2-minute referral script. And let's see, I want everybody to answer this. Why does our referral script work and nobody else's does? I mean, I've been professionally selling for 35 years. I've read probably 4 books on referrals and 1,000 articles on referrals, and none of them worked. But the one we have works. Why? Nick's got it right. Lonnie's got it right. So there's lots of other answers that Glad's got half of it right. Okay, Fred. Yeah, Fred says we're helping them help themselves. The reason it works is because they benefit from the referral. We benefit tangentially. The person they're referring benefits tangentially, but the primary recipient of good things from that referral is themselves. How many other referral scripts does the client benefit from? None. 0. But ours, they benefit from it. So if we could get all of our business from referrals, would we be happy with that? Of course we would. They're pre-sold and they're free. So how good should you be at our 2-minute referral script? I can't tell you how many guys have said that they've been in the business for 20 years, 30 years, and the only referrals they've ever gotten is when a client comes to them and says, hey, my brother's looking for a guy, would you talk to him? But they've never had a referral script that actually worked proactively, and they said, this one works like a son of a gun. So learn it, okay? Network at events. We found that this is a fantastic way to get in front of people if you do it right. If you do it right. Answer questions on question and answer forums. There's lots of forums on the internet about investing, about risk, about all sorts of things, insurance, and you can go there and start being the helpful person on those forums. There are online forums like LinkedIn groups, Quora, allow like-minded people to post questions to group members or audience and source answers from the experts in the field. Join these platforms and start listening to them, and then start giving them feedback. Be helpful there. Again, a big one is be helpful, period. The more helpful you are, the more you're going to get. Again, that comes right back to what we talked about earlier about being an expert on whether to buy or sell, buy or lease a car, about whether to pay off your mortgage, about reverse mortgages, about Social Security, about Medicare. Be helpful. Do things that you do not get paid for. Become that helpful person. Okay, we said we talk about videos later. Make self-help videos. If you're an expert on any of those things, or you dive deep and become an expert on any of those things, could you make a self-help video? Also, could you make a self-help video about other things that people are concerned about? How long should you keep your documents before you should shred them? That's a helpful video. How to read your statements. How to read your tax form, your tax return when you get it back. I mean, there's all sorts of self-help videos that you could create to help people. What should you have in your safety deposit box? Where should you put your important documents? What kind of important documents should you have? And then how can you, all these things that we talked about, how can you distribute them? Local news like city papers, suburb papers, specialty papers. You can do it with TV and radio. You can do it with clients. You can do it with your warm list. You can do it with your website. There's all sorts of ways that you can distribute those things. Again, find 1, 2, or 3 of them that you can distribute. You can create a quiz. The news resources love this. The internet loves this. Create a quiz. And there's all sorts of helpful tools online that will help you create that quiz. If you think about it, what's the number one thing that, for those of you who are online, for Reddit or BuzzFeed, what's the number one type of headline that gets the most amount of hits? They'll have answer these 10 questions and we'll tell you what state you should be living in. Answer these 5 questions and we'll tell you what kind of an animal you are. Answer these 5 questions and we'll tell you what kind of a precious gem you. I mean, and they suck in huge amounts of people. So create a financial quiz that you could distribute to local news sources, online, on your website, etc. People love little easy quizzes. And again, there's lots of resources that will help you create those quizzes. Practice best practice. There's lots of information, books, etc., how to run a best practice. You can also, though, best practice for what? Best practice for you could have a best practice article or list for keeping your information private for cybersecurity. You can have a best practice for your important documents. You can have a best practice for your retirement accounts, best practice for how you handle your IRAs. Create a best practice article or list. It's a fantastic way to get, again, people are hungry for that kind of thing. Create an easy spreadsheet to help people, whether it's a budget sheet or if you've got all sorts of other, maybe it's a spreadsheet for what we talked about, whether you buy or lease a car, whether you have a reverse mortgage, all those things. Again, I'm not big on this. I don't know how to do this, so it's not something I'd be able to do. But if you do like math, you do like spreadsheets, things like that, create one that people would want. Get it to your clients. Make an offer that you'll give it to anybody they're interested in doing. Send it to the local news. Distribute the same way you distribute everything else. Again, make sure you can give them every single month. We have a checklist that Jeff does a good job and Tricia does a good job of creating every single month. But you can actually pull one of those out. Pull a checklist out that you think would be helpful to a lot of people. Like in the spring, I would pull out the one on how to do garage sales. And I would hit all the local press with that checklist to get interviewed on how to get the most out of garage sales. At the end of the year for charitable giving, I would do the little checklist on the best way to maximize charitable giving. It's something you could send to a news source, whether it's TV, radio, the local paper, whatever, about things that are happening right then in people's lives, and they'll interview things, about that checklist. So we give you those things to use, but you don't just use them with the monthly epidemic mailing, you can also pull them out and use them at different times of the year. Create a list of helpful tools. Maybe it's internet tools for helping people, whether it's manage their investments or whatever it may be. Create news sources love this. Create a cautionary tale of a example of something that happened to a client and how it could have been avoided. They love, the news loves cautionary tales. Create an email course for people on whatever, on investing, on retirement planning, on whatever you may be. You can create, and again, you've got all sorts of ways you can distribute these things. Local news, city papers, suburb papers, specialty papers, all these things. These are things that you can do in the background for your primary guys or your secondary marketing. Primary or secondary marketing? Secondary. Cool. So go back at your leisure, grab 1, 2, or 3 of these things and dive in and to get really good at them, and that will have these things running in the background. I have one of my guys in Milwaukee who says, Mike, all your marketing sucks. I said, well, thanks, Frank. And he goes, but I love it because I'm seeing more people than I've ever seen in my whole entire career 40 years in. He's been in the business for 40 years. He says, I'm seeing more people I've ever seen. And I said, well, what do you mean then my marketing sucks? He goes, because I'm doing 5 of these things. I'm doing 5 of your marketing things that basically cost me nothing. And I've got a steady supply of people coming in constantly. Not from any one of them, but I get dribs and drabs from all of them. When I got 5 of these things going at one time, the dribs and drabs turn into a real marketing push on a monthly basis. Make sense? Coolio, you guys have a fantastic rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you all on Monday next week. Thanks, guys.